Okay, so you are a Silicon Valley billionaire, and you have decided you want to live forever. You have the capital, the isolated bunker, and the obsessive drive to outsmart death. But before you inject your own veins with untested stem cells or swallow experimental chemical compounds, you need a test subject. And what better test subject than your best friend? You spend $250,000 building a climate-controlled mansion for your dog, hire a private chef, and install a hyperbaric oxygen chamber in your living room. You are not alone. The industry of animal biohacking is quietly draining more money from the ultra-wealthy than elite plastic surgery. But here is the strange part. You will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars attempting to reverse the biological clock of a golden retriever, and your dog will still die at the exact same age. Why does the ultimate financial investment in canine longevity yield zero actual time? Just like your own longevity protocol, hacking your dog's biology starts with the price list. The entry level is simply environment and diet. You start by hiring a private canine chef. For $30,000 a year, your dog receives a customized daily menu. We are not talking about premium kibble. We are talking about raw Japanese wagyu beef, ethically sourced venison, quail eggs, and organic vegetables, meticulously weighed and prepared by a human culinary expert in your secondary kitchen. You pay a nutritionist to balance the dog microbiome, analyzing stool samples weekly to ensure the gut flora is optimized for maximum cellular efficiency. Because standard housing will not suffice for a biohacked asset, you commission a custom dog mansion. Take the benchmark set by a famous hotel heiress. She spent $325,000 on a 300-square-foot, two-story Spanish-style replica of her own home. It features a balcony, central air conditioning, miniature designer furniture, crown moldings, and a black crystal chandelier. The walls are heavily insulated. The climate is perfectly controlled. You build a fortress to keep nature out, assuming that if the environment is perfect, the animal will not decay. But luxury does not stop aging. Therefore, you must escalate to medical hardware. You purchase a veterinary-grade hyperbaric oxygen therapy chamber for $20,000. This is not a cozy dog bed. This is a massive, sealed acrylic and steel cylinder sitting in your living room. You place your dog inside, and the machine pumps 100% medical-grade oxygen while increasing atmospheric pressure to 2 or 3 times the normal level. The goal is to force oxygen deep into the blood plasma, theoretically accelerating cellular repair and reducing systemic inflammation. You are treating a golden retriever like a professional athlete recovering from a severe spinal injury. Finally, you reach the apex tier, regenerative medicine and experimental pharmaceuticals. You fly in specialists to harvest fat tissue from your dog, isolate the stem cells, multiply them in a laboratory, and inject them directly into your dog's arthritic joints. That runs anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 per course. You top it all off with a drug called Rapamycin. Originally discovered in the soil of Easter Island and used to prevent organ rejection in human transplant patients, Rapamycin has become the absolute obsession of the longevity cult. Studies show it might suppress a cellular aging pathway known as mTOR, essentially tricking the body into a state of cellular preservation. You've now spent nearly $400,000. Your dog possesses a better healthcare infrastructure than the chief executive officer of a Fortune 500 company. Which means you are completely in control, right? This is exactly where the industry traps you. The catch is that the business of veterinary longevity is a completely unregulated frontier. Because the federal government does not scrutinize animal supplements, off-label stem cell clinics, or longevity compounds with the same relentless hostility they apply to human clinical trials, you are often buying astronomically expensive placebos. Or worse, dangerous experiments. You assume you are purchasing extra years for your animal. In reality, you are single-handedly funding the research and development departments of ambitious biotechnology startups. You are using your best friend as a very important laboratory rat. Companies are burning through $100 million in venture capital to get the first canine lifespan extension drugs approved by the government. Massive initiatives like the Dog Aging Project have tracked over 50,000 dogs to gather millions of data points on how the canine body breaks down. But the biology of your 13-year-old retriever does not care about your net worth. You pump the animal full of stem cells. You administer daily doses of rapamycin. Because rapamycin is an immunosuppressant, you are deliberately lowering your dog's immune defenses. A simple scratch from a branch or a mild bacterial infection, which a normal dog would fight off in 2 days, could now become fatal. You built a $325,000 sterile environment to protect the dog, but genetics remain undefeated. The heart muscle still thickens, the kidneys still lose their filtration capacity. You cannot bribe cellular division. When infinite money collides with a dying animal, it creates a psychological nightmare. You have insulated yourself from every other form of discomfort in life. You have a private jet to avoid traffic, family offices to avoid taxes, and security details to avoid physical danger. Therefore, your brain simply cannot process the fact that your dog is aging. You view death not as a biological certainty, but as an engineering problem that just requires more funding. The science backing this entire industry is far more fragile than the glossy pitch deck suggest. The Dog Aging Project, despite running the largest clinical trials on canine longevity, recently faced a massive crisis when its primary government funding grant of $7 million was inexplicably withdrawn. The foundation of canine longevity research is constantly one signature away from collapsing. Yet, elite owners continue to pour hundreds of thousands of dollars into private clinics. The true tragedy happens in the final months. You spend $100,000 trying to rejuvenate your elderly dog. The clinic gives the dog a cocktail of experimental treatments, often laced with powerful anti-inflammatories or heavy steroids. For 3 weeks, the dog bounces back. He runs around a yard, his eyes look clear. You believe the biohacking worked. You believe you actually outsmarted nature and bought 5 more years. Suddenly, the dog collapses. Massive organ failure. The kidney is completely shut down because the steroid bump merely masked the underlying decay. The biological engine was failing, and you just forced it to redline. A normal person would let the animal go peacefully. You, however, have the budget to fight reality. You rush the dog to an elite veterinary intensive care unit. You authorize dialysis. You place the dog in an oxygen tent. You order blood transfusions. You turn the natural, quiet process of a dog passing away into a prolonged, agonizing medical experiment. The money blinds you to the suffering. You did not extend the dog life. You simply extended the dong process. Let us run the final numbers on your biohacked companion. You spent $325,000 on a climate-controlled mansion. You paid $30,000 for 1 year of a private chef. You dropped $20,000 on a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. You spent $15,000 on a cocktail of stem cells and rapamycin. Your total initial investment is $390,000. That entirely excludes the emergency intensive care bills that will inevitably follow. In the most optimistic scenario, you reduce the dog arthritis pain for 6 months and secure a few extra weeks of mobility. In the realistic scenario, the experimental drugs suppress the dog immune system, leading to a sudden, catastrophic infection. The dog dies exactly when its genetics dictated it would. You are not buying eternal life for your dog. You are financing the ultimate vanity project, desperately trying to cure the one condition that wealth has never been able to fix. You buy the wagyu beef. You buy the laboratory drugs. You buy the oxygen chamber. But in the end, the most expensive dog in the world still only gives you 15 years.